Well, a very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Pro Billiard TV and the Predator 2026 Euro Tour. We're coming live from the Miracle Resort in Antalya. It's the Turkiye Open, and it's 8-ball. You join us for the last 32 men's section in this event. And, well, this could be a close matchup. Tobias Bongers of Germany taking on an expressive young man, Max Benko from Slovenia. And, well, I'm excited for this one. My name's Gethin Davis. Joining me in the box for this race to 9, my good friend and colleague, Aya Sarabi. Aya, what are you thinking?
Hi, Gethin. Well, off the bat, a very interesting lag that was from the pocket. Never seen that before. So, well, look, the races have now increased from 7 to 9. That should make a slight difference because we've seen in the past in the short races format with 2 breaks per player, if you can just nick a break of your opponent and then keep serve, you can pretty much win the match quite convincingly. So be looking forward to see how both of these 2 players get on with the break.
Well, we know what great rotation players both these players are, and Bongers, having success back last year in the European Straight Championships, gained European champion status. Now, what have we got at the table?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of balls available to him. Initially, you'd think the 5 is doable. Would need to take the rest out. Maybe he can just see enough of the 2 to drop it in. Yeah, he's hampered, so he might just have to settle to drop it in. Now the solids are pretty okay. I suppose that 7 ball requires some good positional shot. Highly likely he'll play it into the right center pocket, maybe even the left. So from the 5 he can go up to the 3 ball now. That is also marginally tied up.
Yeah, if he can play onto the 3 now, then the 1 definitely has the top left pocket if it was to be hampered, which I don't think it is. And then I'm just having a little look at the 7. That will probably be the next one he'll need to keep an eye on. Has he just come a bit high on this 3?
That's fine. I mean, he can bump into the 12 for the 1 into the side. Now, ideally, would like to leave himself the right angle on the 1. So that becomes the difficult task in the shot. Getting on the 1 to the side is pretty straightforward from this angle. If he can just run into the 12. And he seems to have the angle to run into the 12.
Yeah, as you mentioned at the beginning of the match, both players will have sets of 2 breaks per person. And in the previous groups, it was race to 7, and as you said, it only took a couple of breaks of serve, and players were really able to run away with it, especially if they had their break dialed in. And so far, Tobias is looking like he's got not only his break dialed in, but he's picking his patterns very well. This 7 ball to get on from the 6.
Yeah, and our colleague Mark White, who's on the other table right now doing commentary on table 2 with our colleague Tim, he did mention, and he has got a valid point, when it was a race to 7, when you win the lag, you get 4 of the 6 breaks, which is a huge advantage. If you can just keep your breaks, you're already 4-2 up. Now if you can nick 1, you're 5-1 up.
Well, we do have some great pool brains in the box, and that is actually a really fair point. And when you look at it like that, how much pressure or how much practice should you be playing for your lag?
Yeah, it's a good question, Gethin. I'm not so sure if people practice their lag per se. I suppose most of the time you spend is on, cue ball control as well as certain shots, and definitely the break, which is a crucial part of the game. It's the one skill where you can really force an advantage on own strength. You don't have to be dependent on your opponent. So the lag, yeah, that's a good question. I've never seen anyone practice it, and well, have you seen some of the shots Tobias Bongers played in this? It was not a straightforward run, but played it to perfection, and it's something we've come to use to see from this young man. He's very talented. He's got very few weaknesses, if any.
No, I have to agree. He navigated that pattern really well and just or rather firing the first shot across the bow to young Max Benko. I mentioned Tobias Bongers. Well, he's a very settled player, very loyal to the European scene, and had quite a few successes, both junior and senior. His opponent, Max, sitting in his chair, just age 16, an absolute rising talent, but he hasn't got out of his chair yet.
No, fair point. Fair point, Gethin, and you can be the greatest of all time. If you're not at the table, there's nothing you can do about the situation.
Well, a couple of clusters where the three stripes have laid up on the top right long rail. He may elect to go solids here, but the bottom left pocket is completely blocked. So he's having a look around. I would say he fancies the solids, but does the 12-14 spoil the party?
Both options actually would work. Now, obviously, when you got the stripes, you can clear. There is a bit more clear-cut path, but the problem is where the 8 ball is sitting, and it's mostly tied by the solid. So it's only for that reason where I would feel like going for the solids would be the better option in terms of getting nicely on the 8. Now, like you suggested, that bottom left corner pocket is completely occupied, so you'll have to play good positional shots on the left side of the table, roughly around the middle diamond, just to get rid of these 3 balls behind the 8 ball line.
Yeah, and it looks like the 7 is blocking the path for the red 3, so that will need to be taken first, or at least before the 3. But after the way the German picked apart that last pattern, you feel he's certainly, well, got an idea of what he needs to do here in this second rack.
Oh yeah, Tobias is normally not the type of player where you feel like he would need a couple of racks to just get into the groove. As a multiple European champion and medalist, he's well accustomed to the highest level, being out there in the main arena.
Yeah, and all players getting a lot of play. The ones that going deep, we had the end of the losers rounds, losers qualification, winners qualification. We're now in the last 32. We'll also have the last 16 coming up after this. And the first half of the women's last 16 has already kicked off. One of them over on table 2. I'll bring you more updates on that in a moment as we just look at Tobias picking these 3 balls off that were underneath the 8 in quite controlled manner.
Now, what I would like to see is, where does that 3 ball sit in correlation to the 6? And I think if he can just play a stop shot where the red 3 is sitting right now, he would have the perfect angle to leave himself on the 8 into the same corner pocket as he's going to pot the 3 now. Try to do a bit more extra, and I have to be honest with you, I don't feel like that was necessary.
No. And he's come the wrong angle on the 6 now,
Yeah.
arguably. So he's going to have to push through off that long rail and back out. He's going to have a longer 8.
Maybe even potentially bumping into it. No.
Turned out all right.
Yeah,
And what a weight.
Obviously, we're being very picky, of course, with his cue ball, and and that's every credit to him. You know, that's the level he's shown over the years that you've come to expect him to be in prime position. And it goes, though, safely and well. The perfect start, 2 break and runs. Be interesting to see how Max Benko can reply here.
Well, I do like this young man, Max. As I mentioned, 16 years of age, multi-junior golds. But one thing I do like about him, on top of that Aya, is that he's quite expressive. He puts a bit more emotion, at least around the table, and I do like to see that. And also as a commentator, he likes to put his cue on the table and call his shots, and it makes it a little bit easier for us in the box.
Oh, I'm fully with you. I also enjoy watching these animated players at the table. I remember Liang Wenbo from snooker. Whenever he would win a tense match, he would literally jump in the air, screaming, "Come on, come on!" I mean, absolute scenes. I loved it.
Oh, Max. Max, Max, Max. Good power, just not the right contact, and that cue ball was always going in the side pocket, and good spread of the balls here, Aya. That could be a great opportunity for Tobias.
Yeah, and not only is gone into the side pocket, Gethin, that cue ball is not kicked into the middle pocket, so that should tell you something. He did not hit the break as intended.
And like you mentioned at the beginning, it only takes your opponent to pick one off of you in the first of your opening set, and it can just start to turn the screw. And when you add that to Tobias's opening 2 racks, well, it's a longer race to 9. Maybe that will come into effect, but great opportunity for the German here.
It is still, of course, a ball in hand. He'll have to play it from the kitchen and towards the bottom part of the table. It's not for a lack of talent or skill pound for pound, but you know, if there was ever a scenario where you would have felt like one player would desperately need a quick start, it would have been Max Benko, I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you may bring it back to how important that lag was, because Tobias kept him sat in his chair for 2 racks, and that never helps. Well, I can't imagine it does. I'm sure it increases determination. But as you said, Max has got great emotion, and when it's flowing for him, he's a formidable force, even at 16, even when he was younger. So very important in how Tobias has come out the blocks, won the lag, got the first 2 breaks, kept him sat in his chair. You know, that's going to make it hard on the young man to start with, and then scratch on the break. Well, he's going to need to put that out of his mind. But I've got a feeling Tobias is going to try and run this one out and really not let him get it out of his mind.
Yeah, and you know, I would like to dive into that, what you've just said there, and first and foremost, I 100% agree, and what you've said, everything that is factual. The thing is, when we talk about players, you know, when they get on a run, they look very intimidating. isn't that the case for all the players to a certain extent? So what I'm trying to say is, and this is something I learned from Alex Laley, it's all fine when everything is going up to plan and you're just having the best time out there, but can you produce the same resilience when nothing is going your way? That seems to be the biggest difference between the elite top versus the multi-talented players we've got across the world, really.
Yeah, agreed. And I'd have to say, percentage-wise, it's the methodical players that don't speed up, that are, you'd have to say, more expressionless around the table. Ooh, Tobias hasn't hit that hard enough, stretching. But yeah, the fact that the more metronomic players just seem to keep that consistency a lot better when it is going against them, or certainly when it feels like it's going against them, and that can certainly bite the more expressive players in the proverbial butt. But I have to say, when this young lad, and when I use the word formidable, he just doesn't even think. He's just down, smack, and it can go for a lot of players. But you certainly do notice it. It is more noticeable with this young man. And maybe that's something he's going to need to work on in the forthcoming years. Maybe that more metronomic, dare you say it, slightly more dependable style.
And I mean, it's not just metronomic, it's just asking the question, can you put up a fight when things are not going your way, where you're not putting all of them off the lampshades. And that's really the biggest question for any player, for any talent. It's all fun when you're bossing the table, you're bossing your opponent. Everyone can look $1 million. Can you do that when you're facing a huge deficit, when nothing is seem to be working out? Do you still have that mental resilience? Because I'm not per se saying anything negative about his fundamentals nor his game strategy. And by all means, I think every player is desperately looking to get off to a great start. It's remains to be seen. He's already facing a 3-0 deficit. Can he climb into this match and make a fight of it? I'm sure he's got the talent. I don't doubt that at any second. I'm just curious to see how he goes about this mini deficit.
Well, he did get one chance back at the table from a missed opportunity from Bongers, and just didn't capitalize on it in any way, shape or form, and really left Bongers back in with quite a simple finish. And he isn't going to get that many chances, and you really do need to be converting them. And well, 3-0. Max Benko with his second of his 2 breaks avoids the scratch in the side pocket and has made a ball aya. Oof, dicing with death, this young man.
Yeah, you're right. Needs to pick up on that, you'd feel. Now, twice he's almost gone directly into the side pocket. It's something that you tend to look for as a player. Do I see a pattern? Do I miss some of these shots thick? If that is the case, sometimes I just aim it in my mind that I'm going to miss it, knowing that I've been hitting these balls thick all the time. It's these little adjustments you need to make, and it's easier said than done. Set from our position, of course, Gethin.
Yeah, it is a little easier from the armchair. But even in this race to 9, you feel for his own confidence, flow, and for the scoreline that he does take this opportunity now. And well, they're not sitting bad at all here, all in the bottom of the table. Good cue ball is all that's needed.
Can he see enough of the 6? Might just, you know. Needed that cue ball to be a foot out in the middle of the table. Just made this a little bit more awkward. Still believe he can see the putting angle on the 6, and if that is the case, then he should be home and dry if he makes this.
Yeah, he could see it, and whether it is a must-win or not, this will certainly fill him with a bit of confidence. However, it's going to be back to Tobias to break. 3-1 Aya. That's better than 4-0. A great break and run from Max Benko, putting one on the board for him. And just looking out over the other tables in this men's last 32, there are some fantastic matchups out there. Jan van Lierop against Yuri Pisklov, tied at 3 apiece. We have Luka Men against Lazar Kostic, also locked at 2 apiece. To Alvaro Canoniga from Spain, 4-1 up on the young Denis Laskowski. And on our other table, 3, Daniel Maciel is currently 2-1 up against Martin Kempter, and 1 for my friends here in Amsterdam at the Bovendij. Jan Remper is 5-1 up against Jakob Krobot. Back to Tobias Bongers to break, leading 3 racks to 1 in this race to 9.
Just what the doctor ordered, get in. Max Benko desperately needed a chance to get one back on the scoreboard.
Well, it looked a bit like his original 2 breaks. Good contact, good power. I was about to say smooth as butter, but now I'm thinking it's smooth as crunchy peanut butter, because this is a great chance for Max Benko here. And if he decides to go for the solids, which it looks like he's doing, he's got to dislodge that 3 somehow. Yeah, that has forced him into considering the stripes. And that means he's going to need to do something with the 12 and the 15 up there by the 3 ball.
Now I'm just wondering if that 12 ball, I believe, just up close to the 3 ball. Yeah, that does go. So it does make a difference. Look, in theory, these striped balls all have a designated pocket. So you can take the 12 now, then the 14, send this cue ball up table, but then the next 2 shots become very, very important. See, that 15 ball does go into the same left bottom corner pocket from this camera angle, but you need to land perfect on it.
Yeah, he could have done with just being a bit low on that, and he could have pushed the 3 over and still been left on the 14. Now, he's come up far enough to take the 14.
Well, he was definitely trying to bump the 15 out. I have no doubt in my mind he was playing that shot, knowing full well that if he missed the 15, he would be very unlucky not to have some sort of a shot on that 14.
I like what he's looking at here. Drawing across onto the short rail off this 14 to try and just flatten the angle a bit to come into the 1. How's his cue ball? He's gone through the gap. May still be on the 15 if he wants to take the thin cut now.
Yeah, the It doesn't feel like you can guarantee to get good position after the 15. It's a bit of a gamble, really. You're just, hoping if you hit it hard enough with a lot of backspin or topspin, you'll land on something. And I wouldn't advise anyone watching this to approach the game like that, but he's made a mess of that. He's not on the 10, and he's in a bit of trouble now, Gethin. That's the problem when 8-ball, whenever you've got only 2, maybe 1 balls left, you've opened up the rack for your opponent, and he's got 6, 7 options available to him. And it becomes to the point where you can pretty much just go for it, because playing safe is very, very difficult.
Well, this will be a recovery shot now. 15 off the 4. Through the middle. I think it was tracking in that direction, actually.
Well, like you said, this was not as smooth as nut butter, but I think
He's back at the table.
yeah, Tobias would have a good chance here to play a better safety. I suppose the only problem is the 10-ball down table. If he can just cover the 10, as you can see, there's a wall of balls to hide his cue ball from the 15.
Yeah, containing. Max can see the 10. But to pot it will take one hell of a shot, you feel. But he's thinking about something. Going for the cut. Bottom left pocket. Oof. Oh, are you?
Slightly fortunate, to be honest with you, Gethin, to have the similar type of shot now on the 15. Hit the 8 full in the face, and have a look at this. He'll need another one of those. Now, if he can... Do you know what? I'm thinking if he cuts this 15 in off the side, that cue ball has a good chance to run into the 2 and the 1 there. But it's not the 1, actually. It's the 2 ball and...
The 5.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, he's missed it, but he clearly knew that was going to happen. He came down there to look at the angle. If he knew that it was going to do that, he may have wanted to hit it a little harder, but...
Now, this is a test of cueing, Gethin. This is the type of shot where all the hours of practice comes in handy. You get down on the shot, you stay down on the shot, and trying to push your cue through in a straight line of aiming. There you go. Made it look very, very simple.
Well, it took 2 visits to the table to do it, but it is one against Bongers' break. And that's mission 1 accomplished, but he needs to back it up now. Sadly, he's got to hope for another mistake from the Bongers break. But both players now have broke the other ones. Was the last break a freak, or is something changing out there?
I mean, so far it's one break of each in terms of breaking the serve. But that doesn't change the fact that Tobias can still go 2 racks ahead, just as he would do if he would just, you know, utilize his 2 breaks per player.
Well, I have to say, Arya, I like stripes here. That 7-3 just looks a little bit troublesome, although the rest of the solids are quite nicely situated.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, without doubt. He's also going for the stripes. He's got a couple of options here. I think he just needs to make up his mind whether he wants to take out the 11 and the 9 early on in the rack or leave it towards the end part and getting closer to the 8 ball. He can, of course, use the 11-9 and then the 12 to play position on the 8. That doesn't look like a bad plan to me.
No, I like the look of that as well. Won't need to do as much with the cue ball in that respect. So 15-14 here, and then back up the top of the table. And Bongers back to his 2-rack lead. Max back to the table with his set of 2 breaks. However, it's not over yet, Arya. Still a little bit to do.
Yeah, mainly it's to leave yourself a nice decent angle on the 9 of the 11, and it's never easy when the object ball is so close into the corner pocket. Nearly gone wrong, that one. See, he wants to be just a little bit off the rail and have a nice, let's say, half ball angle on the 9, just to control it, to control the cue ball really. Yeah, just like that. Now that 12 goes into the side pocket. He'd love to land straight on it. That would be the main object here. Try and land straight on the 12.
Ooh. Can draw back for the 8 in the same pocket, but I'm sure he'd prefer to take this 8 ball in the top right. Oh, was able to bump into it with that angle. Arya, effective shot. And this 8 ball to take Tobias Bongers to 4. He leads 4 racks to 2 against the Slovenian Max Benko. Max Benko to the table for his round of 2 breaks. Bring you a little update from the first half of the last 16 in the women's event. Well, it looks like on the TV table, Karina Cooper is 2-2 against the German Chantal Stadler. We also have the Finn Mia Virtanen is 2-1 up against Daria Saranchuk of the Ukraine. Miriam Steiner from Germany 5-1 up against Ina Helvik of Norway. And, well, a well-known name, Pia Filler, 2-2 against her fellow countrywoman, Angelina Lubinas. So 4 of the last 16 underway over there. That 1 ball rattled Arya. Nothing's dropped. Oh.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. This time around he has hit the break a lot better, square in the face, but I mean, it means nothing if no ball drops, and with a tapped rack like this, you're always gonna have a decent spread. So this is not looking all too bright from his point of view.
He's taken on solids. He has the 7 blocking the 6 into the bottom left corner. May have played for the 7 now. Yeah, Tobias just calling his extension. He's queuing over the 3. Makes this a bit trickier, and it is a tight pathway to the pocket. He's played that well, come across 2 long rails, and that's given him options on the 3. I was going to say, or the 5, but the 5 doesn't go to the top left, I don't think. Bonger's just having a look.
Well, I think safe to say this is going to be an adventurous run, that's for sure.
Well, one thing Max is going to have to do is keep headstrong, because the scoreline is running away from him slightly. However, as you have been both alluding to, this 2 break per player format does give players a chance to swing momentum and keep it.
Now I'm just wondering, is that a new age thing for these young guns to keep headstrong?
Well, it's hard to teach. That's the one thing. It's something which comes, I believe, personally from getting time on the table in these big tournaments, and Predator putting on so many with the help of the EPBF and the IPBF. It gives players, young players, a chance just to get out there in the spotlight, feel the pressure, and with that experience, I truly think they get stronger mentally. Well, has options now. Can play for the 8 in the bottom right. Can draw back for it into the side, as he's finished quite nice and straight on this 4.
You know, just before we was due to go on live, I was just having a quick look on the draw. Out of the 32 players, we've got 11 representing Poland, 6 representing Germany. So those are the 2 countries represented the most. No real surprise there, though.
No, not at all. In fact, in our European Championships, which was a few weeks ago, it kicked off here in Antalya as well, at the Miracle Resort. Tobias Bongers came into that straight event as reigning champion, and he made it through to the semi-finals. And in that semi-finals, 4 German players. That just goes to show how strong they are. I do understand that straight is part of their league discipline, so they learn it from a young age, but that was a great, well, something I hadn't seen before in the European Championships, to be fair.
Yeah, and at one point they were playing so strong. You know, like the average points per inning was 30 something. It's unbelievable, unbelievable stuff.
Now Max, trailing 3 racks, making balls off the break. Good cue ball, centre-ish table. As we look at that on a replay, I think he made 2, possibly even 3. Yeah. And if that one had dropped, that would have been the 4th. Good spread. He's got to fancy his chances here. Needs to make moves.
Yeah,
He's
up
having,
for his. Go on.
he's having a think. I'm just having a look out there. I fancy the solids all day, but he's not. Oh, he is taking the 2. I think he was having a good look at the stripes for a while. I don't know. However, I do believe solids were the right play. Not against the long rail here, so can dig in a little bit to the cue ball, and he's run into the 10.
Yeah, he's just opened up the 8 ball even more.
Yeah.
If you can put this 1 ball thin off the side rail, you can get his cue ball back in the center of the table. Just go past the 5 for it to be putted in the same corner pocket. Don't really fancy going off the rail. It is a doable shot though. He might actually play it. No, off the side rail. That seemed like the higher percentage shot to me though.
Big exhale. I do like the expressions on this young lad. Only 16. Tobias Bongers in the 30-something club. So big age difference between the two. So far, 3 racks the score difference. Oh, well, he's got shape on the 8. It's not the most difficult of pots. Looks like he's going to be hampered with his bridge over a stripe and maybe just having to stretch over the 15. Makes that pot, and I have to say, a very timely break and run from Max. Great stuff.
Yeah, needs to dig deep. This is what we were discussing in the beginning of the match. I have no doubt that when he's in form, he's very intimidating. But this is where he needs to show a lot of character. Keep digging, keep chipping away from at Tobias. And, Tobias is the type of player who won't give you anything. For free, that is.
No, not at all. I mentioned Max isn't going to get too many chances, and when he does, he's got to take them. Tobias having pretty good results from the break. It's opened up with 2 break and runs. Would like to tuck these 2 under his belt and really put it up against Max. Ooh, nothing threatened a pocket there, are you? Nothing.
Well, I'm not so sure if nothing threatened the pocket, but, the result is the same. Nothing dropped. 2 ball nearly went, 10 ball nearly went. But there you go, Gethin. This is exactly the type of opportunity Max was desperately hoping for. Now, not so sure whether he'll fancy to go for the stripes. I can't even see a straightforward putt on the stripes. So he's looking at the 4 ball, immediately probably taking away the 1 after it as well. Yeah, this is a great opportunity, Gethin, and an important one.
Yeah, and after this 1, aside of the 8, all of his balls tucked up top there. Just needs to get good position on the first of them. He's done that nicely. Floating around for the 2. Now he's going to be picking which of his 4 solids at the top is he going to leave till last to get shape on this 8 ball.
Now then, Gethin, is there any ball on the table you could foresee becoming an obstacle for him?
No, stop shot here for the 7, and then 5, push the cue ball round short rail, long rail, and on the basis that that 8 passes the 9 into the bottom left. That would be my preferred route. Only getting position from the 5. If he doesn't catch it right, there is a couple of stripes there to run towards. Yeah, he's just looking at that shape now. This young man not daunted by the scoreline one bit. Ooh. Did rattle it a little bit, just to keep us on the edge of our seats. See from the replay, just crept in, caught the Nissa knuckle.
I'm just wondering how you feel about this. Sometimes run, excuse me, pardon.
Well, let's just hope all the best for Aya's safety there. It sounds like he might be choking on us. And Max has found that position for the cue. Clearly does pass the 9. And has a little look away. Clearly doesn't want to show too much happiness, but I'm sure inside he is. Brings the scoreline back to 5-4. Just wondering if we need to call an ambulance for Aya.
No, I'm okay.
Bit worried for a second there, sir. Great time to take one off of Bongers' break.
No, I was about to
What a
say, when
swing.
he just rattled that 7 in, I was going to ask you, and I have that experience to me, when you're in a run and you rattle a ball, rather surprisingly, that actually tends to sharpen up your focus a bit more, because you know in the back of your mind that you've actually got away with a poor shot there. So that just sharpens the focus a bit more, knowing that I can't afford to play another weak shot like that.
And do let us not forget, if Max is able to bring this scoreline back to level, he will have completely flipped the situation in this match where Bongers looked like holding a 2-rack lead. Okay, the scoreline's back to level, but Max Benko will get the next 2 breaks, so interesting time, and more importantly, Bongers back in his chair after his break.
Yeah, 2 dry breaks on the spin. I must admit, not seen that happen too often on our stream tables.
He's not happy with something out there. I think it's the 1. Doesn't pass the 10. If that's what that little grimace was about from the young man.
No, I think you'd love to have landed dead straight on the 7. He's got a slight angle, that's the only thing. See, the 7 looked like a perfect shot to play a stop shot on the 1, but because he wasn't straight on it, now I'll have to maybe use the 6, for example. If he can roll the 3 in, use the 6, then he can take away the 1. As soon as he gets the 1 out of the way, this becomes a very clear-cut chance.
Looks like he's got a little chunk of angle on the 6.
Yeah, that's perfect, and you just need to pick up the line where you want to send your cue ball into the side rail, because that cue ball is now coming into the line of the 1. Perfectly played, and I think he's left himself just enough angle to stun the cue ball up table, mid table actually, to leave himself a choices of the 2 or the 4 ball there. There you go.
As you predicted, Aya does have a choice now, but I think he's just in between both. So potting the 4, the cue ball's going to trace towards the long rail, potting the 2 away from the 4. So now maybe looking just to draw back from the 4 for the 2 into the other corner pocket. Oh, no. Drawing back off the 2. Oh. He's got me thinking here. I think he's okay here. He is going to be running towards the 10 slightly higher, but could just drop this in, or could follow it through off the long rail.
Yeah, he'll probably follow this one through, and that cue ball should automatically just become below the middle pocket. There you go. It's good enough. Nice, comfortable shot here on the 8 ball. Taking a bit more time, I don't mind that. He does realize how important it is to apply himself technically on this shot. And this is to draw all level after 10 racks played, 5-all. We've got a match on our hands here, Gethin.
Ho, 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 we have indeed, Aya. Max Benko, our 16-year-old Slovenian, taking 2 in a row against Tobias Bongers' break. And not only, Aya, have we got a match that's back to all level. Now Max has his 2 breaks and really is looking to do some damage at this stage of the match. Great roundup of the shots. On our other table 2, we have the matchup between Karina Cooper and Chantal Stadler. Chantal 4-3 up in that match. If you want to keep updated with all the scores in that last 16 and this last 32, please do visit EPBF EPBF.com, European Pool Federation Board, excuse me, Billiard Federation. And you'll find all the schedules, results and fixtures coming up. Max needing to get a ball down on this break. Doesn't look like he's got it, Aya.
No, he's done all the hard work to claw his way back into the match, and he's done exactly the same as his opponent done on his previous 2 breaks. Dry break, multiple options available to him, and the stripes, I must say, get in, look rather inviting to me.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. The 4 in the bottom half of the table, the 2 by the side pockets and the 2 near the bottom right pockets are not going to cause Tobias too much trouble here. Just a little view of Max in the background scratching his head. The last few breaks have not been going too well for the breaker. Both players just struggling a little bit with the break at this midway stage.
No, look, this layout really looks straightforward, particularly when you have a player like Tobias Bongers at the table. You'd need something very unexpected to happen for him to break down on this visit.
Tobias just calling the ref over. Just to keep an eye in case there was ever a chance he was going to contact his opponent's ball first. Hasn't done that. I'm not sure if that 7 is blocking the 8 to the bottom right, but that shouldn't prove too much of a problem for Tobias, as he can naturally float the cue ball up the right hand side of that 8.
Yeah. Left himself enough angle to punch this off the bottom rail for the 8 into the left bottom corner pocket.
And it's been an exchange of punishing the breaker. Max taking 2 off Tobias. Complete contrast to the opening of this match. Tobias now taking 1 of the Max Benko breaks. Takes the lead again, 6-5. Quite an important rack for Tobias, you feel. And,
Well, I mean, this is the whole point, isn't it, Gethin? We keep on going about the break, and I can understand if some of the viewers are watching this thinking, why are you constantly talking about the break? That's the whole reason. You look at this, you see how easy these players run the table. Now, try and imagine if Manx would have dropped the ball on his break. That run could have been his, you know, that's literally the difference. It's not like he's missed every single putt under the sun. It's just, you know, having the break on 8 ball is a massive advantage. That's, of course, under the assumption that you can make a ball on the break.
good look at the young man's concentration there. Good power. Balls tracking, nothing dropping. That's 2 dry breaks in a row. How costly are they going to prove? Well,
I'll be honest with
already
you,
know.
Gethin. He was brutally unlucky on this attempt. He really was.
Again, a really good spread as well, are you? I'm just having a little look to see what I would like. Stripes, probably. And that's my personal preference, but now I have a look at the
He's going for the
215.
solids.
Sorry, the 213. Yep, he has gone solids. I was just worried about that blue 2, to be fair, and the 6, but he's got a good angle now to track up between the long rail and the 2, if he chooses to.
A lot of 2s in that sentence, Gethin.
Completely ignored me as well.
That's their job. That's their job, to make it difficult for us.
Absolutely. Now, still looking at that 6 and the blue ball. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually landed okay, but I understand where you was coming from. That was, well, looking like it was gonna go astray. Yeah.
Oh yeah, from this angle, the 6 is available to the side pocket as well. That does make a difference.
Yeah, so he's thinking 1, 6, and then the 2 was the penultimate ball to play position on the 8. Which is doable. I mean, any sort of a half ball or even full ball angle on the 6, you can just bump into the 11. And that would leave yourself a perfect angle on the 2 to get on the 8. Now, the only thing on this shot is, if he is deciding to play the bump, I would suggest he hits it mid-speed, just to make sure it doesn't land awkward. You're looking to get a full ball contact on the 11 here.
Well, he bumped it far enough away to leave shape for it in the top left. Can draw across to the long rail.
Not made up his mind yet on the shot, which is, by the way, if you're watching this, this is a perfect example of when you're down on the shot and you've not made up your mind. It's for the best that you take a few extra seconds, sorry, not minutes, of course.
We're not playing snooker now.
Yeah. Touche.
I've been waiting for that for 3 years, are you?
Look, I don't mind the shot clock to be a permanent thing in Q Sports in general. Small timeout by Max Benko. Now he'll get 5 minutes, Gethin, before he returns to the table. I'll take a few seconds as well myself, and we'll continue the coverage as soon as the player has returned to the table.
Well, a very warm welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this star-studded arena here at the Miracle Resort on the turquoise coast, Antalya. And what a match we have for you here. Tobias Bongers of Germany leading Max Benko 7-5 in the last 32, place in the last 16 up for grabs. Then matches will be taking place after this round of matches finished this evening. My name is Gethin Davis. Joining me back in the box for this enticing encounter, Arya Sarabi, as we just take a look at Tobias back with his, I was about to say his first of his set of 2 breaks. Not a bad cue ball. Oh, the 5 has just trickled into the centre pocket. And well, Arya, that now looks like a good opportunity. It did look dry until that last moment.
Yeah, what a massive difference that is.
Now, that cluster of solids at the all around the rack don't look too bad, actually. If Tobias wanted to take them on, the 4 would start that cluster off nicely. I'm just looking where the 13 is. Well, that's not putting off Tobias here. Taking the 12, going stripes.
Let's not forget, it's to put himself on the hill. He's got this chance, as well as another break upcoming after this. Now, will he put himself on the hill? Or will he even go further and run out the match?
Yeah, and you have to say a massive opportunity missed for Max there. Max doing all the hard work, bringing the scoreline back to level with him starting his round of 2 breaks, and just wasn't able to convert one of them. And now, as you've said, Tobias Bongers with a chance to get on the hill with the break to follow.
Yeah, I did say it at the time, particularly the second one. I can't really recall the first of the 2, but the second break from Max Benko, you know, a couple of minutes ago, he was brutally unlucky not to drop a ball. It's all unfortunately part of the game, Gethin. Sometimes it can be a very cruel game. It goes without saying, of course, Gethin. In the beginning part of the match, he did have a couple of chances, a couple of errors, but you know, that's in the past now. All he's considering is being in the moment, and in recent moments, he's not been fortunate whatsoever.
Well, Tobias looking to use that 13 orange stripe as his key ball here. And yet, you could argue that the damage was done with the way that Tobias came out of the starting blocks, break, run, and then scratch on the break from Max, which let Tobias in to take that one as well. Well, he'd done a lot of the hard work there, but Max has performed valiantly to get back into it. And, well, it's not over yet, but with Tobias on the hill, it will make a very big challenge for the young Slovenian.
That's the nature of the game, Gethin. 8 ball. Honestly, you don't have to do that much wrong to lose a match. quite convincingly in the end. If you look at the scoreboard, 8-5 down. Nothing he can do about that, nor can he do anything about the next break.
Yeah, it is somewhat out of his hands until and if he gets back to the table. We just see a roundup of Tobias's shots there. I'll bring you an update from our other TV tables. Chantal Stadler over on table 2 is 5-4 up against the Polish lady Karina Cooper. And over on our other table, Daniel Maciel, well, he's just completed his 9 and has taken that match 9-2 over Martin Kempter. And an interesting one for any of my fans out there. It looks like our local favourite Jan Remper is on the hill in his match against a very strong Pole, Jakub Krobot. It's nice to see a familiar face getting into the last 32 with a chance for the last 16. This could be Tobias's break to get him in the last 16. Max will be hoping to get back to the table. Bongers leading 8-5 on the hill. Well, Bongers making ball. Didn't look to spread as well as his previous rack, but it now, at second glance, doesn't look too bad at all. I was referring mainly to the 210 cluster, but there's a little bit of gap between the two. I'd have to say, good opportunity for Tobias here, the way he's been taking his opportunities so far.
Yeah, it's exactly what we've come to expect from him right from the get-go. And you've pointed it out, that 2 ball seems to be the most obvious problem ball. But though, having said that, if you leave yourself thin on the 2, you should be able to pot it. So, is it a 100% problem ball? Not really. That's why he's taking this 4 ball down the table before heading up table where he's got that 4 remaining balls left.
Yeah, threaded through the gap nicely. I was just talking about the young Dutchman Jan Remper. Looks like he's gone through to the last 16, also joining Roman Hibbler, Wojciech Szewczak and Petri Mäkinen. Already big names in the last 16. Will it be Bongers, the next big name to go through?
Also Jan van Lierop riding the flag high from the Netherlands. He's through to the next round as well.
Excellent result for the Dutch contingency. Great to see. Now, he made that 2 very nicely. It's come back into a beautiful shape, has choices, 6 or 5. Seven passes the 6. This is looking
ominous.
Absolutely. And, well, a valiant fight back from Max, has to be said, taking both of Bongers' breaks in his last set of 2. But at the moment, not to be the case. This time,
in the end, his most recent set of 2 breaks has let him down. That's literally been the difference.
he'll be happy to have made the last 32. Disappointed not to get through to the last 16. Although still 2 balls to pot here. But let me tell you, and take nothing away from this young Slovenian, he is going to be something on the European and world scene in years to come. This 8 ball for Tobias Bongers to take a place in the last 16, a clench of the fist, a shaking of hands. Max Benko will not be progressing through. Congratulations to the German, and as we mentioned, a few names already in the last 16. Jan van Lierop also joining them, Simon Kural of Poland, and another Pole, Dominik Rigeli. So keep an eye on EPBF.com to bring up any matches that you are looking for and scores. A big thank you all also for joining us. We will be back in 1 hour and 40 minutes. It will be last 16 matches, as tomorrow we begin the quarterfinals of both the men's and women's event. So please set your reminders. We will be back very shortly with more action from Antalya and the Predator 2026 Euro Tour. Don't go anywhere.